Still no video? Let's see. Let's see if I can figure out why. How about now? Okay, I've only had one person say that they don't see any video. How about the rest of you? Can you see us on your screen?
Well, there is no video. You and me are the video.
Okay, well, do you see myself and Jennifer? No, okay. Mark, it might be you. I've gotten a couple other yeses in the chat. Why don't you hop out and then hop back in and see if that works? Everybody else able to see us? I know I've got Debbie, thanks for, or Deborah, thank you for saying yes, that you can see us. Interesting. Thanks, Annie. She can see us too. All right, I'll give Mark a chance to hop back in. Mark, when you're back in, let us know if you can see us now. I feel like that Verizon commercial. Instead of can you hear us? Can you hear me now? Still nothing. Huh.
Maybe it'll change up for him when we go to video, when I share my screen and go video.
Oh, he's
just a
on
thought.
He's on an iPhone, and I don't have an iPhone, so I don't know if there's a setting or something that might be causing that. I'm an Android user. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody. We'll get started in just a minute. We'll try and see if we can get this figured out. Okay, well, Mark, as long as you can hear us right now, that's perfect. You will be getting a link to the recording. So you're welcome to stay with us and, you know, follow along. Maybe I'll be able, okay, yeah, maybe you will be able to see the screen. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. And then fingers crossed that that works for you. And like I said, worst case, you'll be getting a copy, a link to the replay. Oh, okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for tonight's virtual vacation. I'll go ahead and share my screen really quick to do the introduction. I'm Maria Stephanopoulos with Ingenious Travel. Welcome back for those of you who have joined us in the past. For those of you who are new to us for Take a Virtual Vacation, welcome. Just to give you a little bit of background for those of you who are new, I'm Maria Stephanopoulos, as I said, with Ingenious Travel. I'm based in the Tampa Bay area. Also with Take a Virtual Vacation is Susan Schaefer with Ships and Trips Travel of Middle Tennessee. Barbara Oliver, All Together Now Travel from the Los Angeles area. Same thing with Gail Sherman with Wine Lovers Travel. And Candace Stearns with Stay Balanced Travel, who is located in the Detroit metro area. Tonight, though, you get me and Jennifer Reynolds, who's going to share with us in just a moment about our trip to Tanzania. So to give you just a little more background, we started Take a Virtual Vacation back in April during the real onslaught of everything that was COVID related. And the agents, we all got together and were like, you know, we got to do something because you turn on the TV and everything around you is just COVID, 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 and that's enough to drive anybody crazy. So we wanted to be able to offer a bit of an escape along with some inspiration on different destinations that you can visit, or if you have already visited, to bring you back to that location that had an impact on you, because as we all know, travel really does make a difference. You learn so much through it. You take a piece of it back with you, as well as leaving a piece of yourself there. Where you can find us for those of you who are new. So as I mentioned, Take a Virtual Vacation is on Facebook, and we have a Facebook group, Take a Virtual Vacation. We'd love for you to join us there. You'll see the calendar of upcoming virtual vacations, as well as the recorded sessions from our previous virtual vacations. We also have a YouTube channel. And for those of you that are located in the Tampa Bay area, Middle Tennessee, or Detroit, we'll be holding in-person events coming up soon in these areas. I know Candace has already had one in the Detroit area, and she, I believe, has already posted her second one. You can find that on the meetup website, Eat, Drink, Travel Detroit. And then for those of you in the Tampa area, now that we've had our restrictions lifted and where bars and restaurants can go back up to full capacity, we'll be getting ready to host one within the next few weeks, hopefully. So having said all that and reintroducing Jennifer Reynolds, who's here tonight to share with us the excitement that is Tanzania. Take it away.
Oh, I will. Okay, let me bring this full screen up for all of you. To make it easy, I'm going to stop that video down there so we can focus on what we're looking at here, which is Africa. My name is Jennifer Reynolds. I've been in travel all of my life. I worked on cruise ships the majority of my life. And 2 years ago, I had a chance to go to East Africa. Now, whenever we talk about going to Africa to see animals, I think we should always put it in perspective with Africa being such a large, large continent. I got over into Tanzania there and Kenya. If you look towards the southern part of the continent, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Zambia also represent unbelievable opportunities for animal viewing, if you will. But this was the part of the country I chose, the eastern part of the continent. Kenya, as well as Tanzania, was in the running, and I decided to focus on a 10-day itinerary primarily in Tanzania. Flying internationally, and I'm going to see if I can grab a, no, I don't see a tool. I should have looked earlier to see if I can see a tool to draw with. But if you come in internationally into Tanzania, where we're going to be flying into, believe it or not, is Arusha, on the Kenya border, very close there. The airport is called Kilimanjaro, and why? Because we are within pretty close to spitting distance to Mount Kilimanjaro. The circuit that you see there going from Arusha would take me to Serengeti National Park, Lake Manyara National Park, Ngorongoro Conservation Area, and the Serengeti, and that's considered to be what we would call the northern circuit of Tanzania. It began here. It began in flying in internationally into Arusha. This was actually one of the first critters that I saw when I got into the country, but you're looking for the big five: the lion, the black rhino, the African elephant, the leopard, and the Cape buffalo. And you can do fairly well in seeing the majority of these animals, but make no mistake about it, take a look here, is just the beginning of the critters that you can see in this part of the world. It's just a matter of which country that you choose to go to and how you want to do it. Tonight, we're going to focus on Tanzania, but believe me, other nights we could take this and be talking about other countries as well. But this was my snack when I was in the air. It was about a 23-hour duration to get from the United States to Tanzania. I flew Miami to Doha in Qatar, and then from there down from another 8 hours flight south down to Tanzania. Flying in, we were really fortunate to see Mount Kilimanjaro, and that is from the airport flying in. When you're coming into this area to Arusha Airport, the area that we're talking about here is about 4,600 feet of altitude. And depending on the itinerary and safari that you do, I chose a 10-night safari, and I did a pre-night and a post-night. And what you're looking at here was my pre-night and my post-night hotel, which was in Arusha, and it was absolutely magnificent. The different styles and calibers of properties that you have, the visitors that you have to come and visit you. I was actually laying in the bathtub having a little bath when this guy looked through the window and was really cheeky, peeked in and stole the sugar from the coffee service. But when you leave the hotel, and I put that in quotes, the villa, wherever it is that you may be staying, it's a short drive to get into some of the national parks. And this was what greeted me at Lake Manyara, at one of the parks. Sorry, it wasn't Lake Manyara. We were a little bit further south. What you're looking at in the animals here, the Cape buffaloes and the giraffes. The vehicle that we were in is a top lift vehicle, which means that it does pop up. These giraffes are just incredible. They're everywhere. They love the acacia trees. This is just the beginning of the images that we were able to take. And by the way, every single one of these was taken with my camera. We met cheetahs and we met leopards. We talk about the differences between the two. This would be a cheetah with solid black spots. Look at the elephants, once again, a matriarchal society. Quite amazing. Their gestation period is very long when it comes to the elephants. It's about 22 months. Quite extraordinary to see them in the wild. Mothers are very protective of the individuals. They will gather around all of them if your vehicle gets too close. They will charge, and it's not uncommon, though, for your guides to just settle in. They watch you, you watch them. As long as nobody feels threatened, the distances are kept up. It's just really not to see a creature this size in this kind of an environment is simply mind-blowing. And to be riding in one of these Jeeps and see a baboon, obviously with one of their little ones, and in fact the road that we were trying to pass on was just littered with so many critters that we just waited for them to get out of our way. The dik-diks, the antelopes, the traveling companions that we had. Generally in East Africa, you'll find the vehicles will be like this, the pop-ups, 6 people to 8 people maximum. There's private experiences as well. Different types of experiences if you go to Southern Africa, where you may not be as enclosed. The proximity of the animals is what is really exquisite. On the journey I was on, there was only 3 of us. For some strange reason, there was another 3 people that were scheduled to arrive, but they didn't. And this was our first luncheon when we came out of Arusha. We drove about an hour, down some dirt roads, and suddenly you're in this park. We stopped, we had our luncheon at what was going to be our overnight accommodation, and we just got ready for the afternoon drive. This is pretty much how things, and you're dressed each day pretty casual and comfortable. And this is just what you get to see, the lionesses at the bottom. When they decide it's time to sit down and have a nap, well, we pulled up right across from them and took photographs. You can see people at the different pop tops and the guides that you've got here and their ability to find these animals. Our guide was doing this for the 17th season, Eduardo. And I swear it was the first time that he had ever laid eyes on some of these animals. The giraffes were amazing with their long necks. Giraffes have incredible eyesight and they're herbivores, and it's the acacia tree that they really like. They live up to about 25 years of age, and if you're lucky, while you're there, you might see some of the giraffes doing necking. And that's when the male giraffes will be having a little argument with each other. But they tend to live to they're about 25 years old. They go in groups, or what we call towers of about 15. And I keep coming back to these darn elephants because they were just some of the most exquisite experiences, and learning that an elephant can actually swim because they use their trunks when they are going underwater. That just kind of blew my mind. Lions in Lake Manyara that are tree climbing lions. Look at the size of the paws on that critter. There's very few places here in Eastern Africa where you will see a tree climbing lion. And again, these were taken with my photographs from our Jeep. And that was the first afternoon, and it was at Lake Tarangire, which was in the southern entry. From Arusha to Lake Tarangire, it was only about an hour and a half's drive. You don't really know that you're suddenly in the boundaries of these parks. And something that was very magical was a full moon experience, but I'll share something more exquisite with you in a moment. Look at that moon over Africa, and then you can see the tree climbing lions here, and that was in a late afternoon as we were on our way to our overnight accommodations. Shocking amount of accommodations in East Africa, from private tents and safaris, from things where you can spend $1,000 a night to a few $100s a night. But what's not going to change is the exquisiteness of the scenery. And it's not just about the animals, it is indeed about the accommodations. But you'll be staying in the parks, And there's a variety of accommodations here. Some of them may be tented. A majority of them will look just like this with mosquito netting. All of them are just exquisite with these incredible views and these great sceneries. Remember, we're not at sea level in Africa here. When we're in Arusha, we're up to over 4,000 feet in sea level. When we get up more into the Serengeti and Ngorongoro crater, we're getting up closer to 6,000 feet above sea level. So we're getting up into a higher altitude. And remember, these are parks. This is a photograph of our ticket, our receipt. 18th of May, 2019, the day trip for us going into Lake Manyara. Edwin, there was our guide there. Oh, he was just exquisite. So we paid for us to go in terms of US dollars, 159 US dollars for the three of us to visit Lake Manyara. That price when you get into the Serengeti is closer to $125 per person per day. Remember, when you're visiting here, these national parks do have entry fees, and those are all going to be included. Meals are included, your guides, your daily excursions. You're not just wandering out on your own, but when you get out in the evening time and you're 6,000 feet up in the air closer to the moon, that is what a full moon over Lake Manyara looks like. And that's what that very same place looked like the next day. And yes, you could have a swim, but you are in a national park. It's not like these animals know these boundaries. The Cape buffaloes, the lionesses, the elephants, they're still walking around here. You know that you're staying in a property, but they don't. Neat little spots. If you watch out of Africa, you'll be seeing Lake Manyara and the famous flamingos that are here. I take a moment and savor this photograph only because it includes some jewelry around my neck and some rings on my finger and a watch on my wrist that I no longer own because my house was broken into after I got home from Africa. So I look at that and I say, wow, not only does this place create incredible memories, it also reminds me of incredible amounts of gratitude that we bang all this stuff out while you can. It's not a tremendously difficult journey at all. A lot of sitting in your vehicle during the day. You may go back to lunch to wherever you're staying, or a picnic lunch would be more common, mostly because you get caught up in sites like this of these rhinoceroses. And it's really much more incredible to follow their journey and listen to them and watch them eat and bathe each other. And it's far more interesting to watch the flamingos than it is to worry about getting fed someplace. So we opted most of the time to have a good hearty breakfast and take a picnic lunch with us each day. I used binoculars, but my camera really brought every one of these photos towards me. And in Lake Manyara and everywhere here, I'm not a birder. I will never profess to be a birder, but I was blown away by the amount of bird life that's here. It's more than just the big five and the rhinos and the elephants. There's so much more subtle creatures here, alive and dead, that make it possible for us to continue to explore the area. Notice with the giraffe, you'll always find them in the acacia trees. Look at the size of the claws on these critters. And the people. I cannot even begin to tell you how exquisite these individuals were, the pride these people took in their country, in their music, in their food, in their hospitality, and sharing what is theirs. All of these facilities that you're staying in, the majority of them are compounds. Some of them may be 10 rooms, some of them may be 70 rooms. They're very different, and that's why you use a travel professional. Some of them are off the charts, ridiculously expensive. Some of them are very humble. But what's really cool is it's always the people behind them that are passionate about what you're doing, and they're as excited about what you've seen during the day, because they too get the opportunity. They're here in the park. This is their country. In Tanzania, Swahili is the national language, and the zebra is only found in Africa. They run in small groups. Saw them in a lot of places, and you probably have heard the term about the migration process. And I'm going to bring a map up here again because I want you to look at Kenya and Tanzania. Everything you see in green is part of the national parks in the country, and 1/4 of the country is set apart for national parks. The coastal area there, which also includes the island of Zanzibar, which, by the way, is where Freddie Mercury from Queen was born, on the island of Zanzibar. But there is a lot of opportunity to visit parks here. But when you look at the Serengeti bumping up against Kenya, that actually is the Maasai Mara on the side of Kenya. It's just a continuation of that park. And what happens when people think about the big migration is it's animals that are moving as the rains go and the animals continue to move. And the reality is that process is happening continually throughout the year, because these animals are always moving towards where there's more water. But it does so happen that in June and July, there's a very thick population of the migration that will cross over in the Serengeti into the Maasai Mara, and it's quite an exquisite experience. But that isn't the only thing that's here. That migration is happening continually. It is seeing our lions and the lionesses here. The lions today, there are half as many lions today as there were 25 years ago. And you'll find them in prides with about 3 males up to about 15 females. Interesting to discover that the males do mate with all of the females in the pride, and that's the way of the continuation of the process. In the social hierarchy, that song, "The Lion Sleeps Tonight," is for a particular reason. We kept continually asking our guide, well, if this one and this one got in a battle, who would win? If this one and this one, and it finally said, whoever runs fastest wins. But there are some pretty cheeky critters out there in terms of monkeys that have been known to take down some of these animals, like these Cape buffaloes, just exquisitely huge creatures. I went in May, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, magnificent times. This is up though now in the Serengeti. Parts of the Serengeti can get up to over 6,000 feet, 3,000 to 6,000 feet in altitude. And these are what the rooms look like. It got chilly in the evening time, and yes, sir, mosquito spray was definitely needed. I will never forget seeing a Cape buffalo drink out of the swimming pool that I had just walked out of. But after dinner, you are not permitted to walk back to your room alone. You are always escorted by someone from the hotel staff who will be armed. You don't just wander around here willy-nilly. The animals are king, and they will always get the primary respect. The selfies, the selfie opportunities, oh, the jewelry around my neck, the picnic lunches that were just so easy. We only ended up with 3 of us. In our group, there was supposed to be 6. The facilities are pretty minimal here, folks. There was one spot to stop in for lunch. Ballast water management was a very important thing. And if you had to tinkle, we would wait until the coast was clear and certain protocols were in place. But I again remind you, I took all of these photographs. We followed this family for ages. We have cheetahs and we have leopards. Kind of cool thing to think about both of them. Leopards are nocturnal and they will take a kill into a tree. They have black spots that are clustered. See how those black spots are clustered around? But you will see them up in a tree and they are nocturnal. And again, that was one of my photographs. That's a great way to be able to tell the difference, because cheetahs, and I'll show you a photo in a minute, don't climb trees well. So this guy, this leopard, obviously feels a lot safer taking his kill up into the tree. The hippo pools were exquisite. All these guys really did was eat and poop and wash each other. And it was hysterical and just a blast. But you know, it isn't always the biggest. It's the dingoes. It's the smaller critters that you will see. And I highly recommend that you take a hot air balloon ride. These are additional, about $500. My trip, by the way, per diem was about $600 per person per day, not with air. That was on land, fed, watered, toured, all of that stuff. About $600 per day, and that's a moderate price. And then, of course, air on top of it. This hot air balloon ride was over the Serengeti first thing in the morning. I just can't fathom how anybody wouldn't do it. I think it was about $400. And just looking at this and going back to Africa with all of you tonight, you need to know that this is my number one place to travel to when things open up a smidgen more. Whether it's Tanzania or Kenya, whether it's Southern Africa, it's animals, animals, animals. It's learning more about these darn zebras. I love how they are. They are such a tight unit. Zebras look out for each other. Cheetahs, look at the different color that you'll see on the cheetah going across. And these guides, they talk to each other. So everything's not getting completely overwhelmed. So the guides will know. And you get in during high season, yes, there's going to be a lot more people. That's why I say to you, stay in that off period time. The cycle of life, if you want to go and play Elton John in that song, it's very, very apparent here, because we met this cheetah and we also met her cubs, and the cheetah cubs and the cheetah will always have those little teardrops. Another way that you can tell the differences between the cheetahs and the leopards in the trees. The most exquisite eyes, the most exquisite animals, and I am a little bit of a cat person, but this would be a cheetah, and that would be a leopard. And I took both of those photographs. It's about the people as well, 120 tribes that are here, 120 different languages as well. An exquisite Tanzanite ring on my left hand that I managed to hang on to for a few months, a wonderful commodity to purchase there. Excuse me, I remember this woman right outside of Ngorongoro crater. And this is the Maasai folks, the Maasai people who have special privileges, being able to come in and do their pastoraling and taking care of animals in the Ngorongoro crater area. The people and the human history here is pretty exquisite. It is indeed a lot about animals. It is a little bit about the plant life here, but it really is about the exquisiteness. You're looking at the valley of Ngorongoro crater. The rim of the crater is at about 7,000 feet of altitude. You climb down about 2,000 feet to get to the base of the crater. And what's interesting is in Ngorongoro, there are no zebra. Why? The edges are too steep for them to be able to climb down, and it's too deep, or excuse me, not zebra, giraffe. The edges are too steep for them to get down, and their necks are too long, and they're too top heavy. So you'll never see a giraffe inside Ngorongoro crater. Follow these little guys, these little families forever. You never know what you're going to see. With your guides and your binoculars, you could be watching a pride of lions for a bit. We were on the edge of a kill, but that was probably one of my favorite photographs that I took while we were there and interacting with this group, which was about 2.5 hours that we had the chance to watch them inside the crater. This guy was looking after his pride, lots of women around. That was inside Ngorongoro crater. Mother Nature has been very kind to this part of the world, and due to the different altitudes, you find the different animals and the different topography. Some of them are like our giraffes and they're herbivores, others are not. The edge of Ngorongoro crater, the view at the end of a typical day, a beer and a few snacks, looking down 2,000 feet from the edge of Ngorongoro crater into the crater itself. And believe me when I tell you, there's a choice of 10, 12, 13, 15, 17 hotels on the edges of the crater, none of them in the crater. That is a national park. And that's why you use a travel professional to make the choices that you do, because there's a lot of things that can be seen. But no question, I'm a little bit of a cat girl. That's my Alfie down the bottom. I always have to make sure that he gets a little bit of airtime because he gets jealous over these animals. But if you can remember what our big five are with our elephants, our lions, the water buffaloes and the rhinos, and interesting, seeing the black rhino, very difficult to see. And there are some special spots in Eastern Africa where you will see more of the white rhinos. And I leave you with a view of Ngorongoro crater and some of the beautiful simplicity that is this exquisite part of the world. And I'm going to turn this back to you, Maria, and let you have that screen back and say thank you for letting you let me take you all to Africa. I still don't think I've given it back to you. It's coming back. There you go.
You gotta love technology, right?
Well, it's user error. There's no question about it at that end. Listen, this was a 10-day itinerary, Maria, that I did with a pre-night and a post-night. About $600 a night got me into play, add a few other things on it, add your international air. And I can't think, well, there's other places as well. You know how I feel about animals that I would spend money to go to see them. No question, this is one of the wonderful places that I would go to in a New York minute.
Yeah, and I know we're all chomping at the bit to really get traveling again. This is on my list as well. And I can tell you over the course of doing all these virtual vacations, my list is getting longer and longer. We do have a few questions that came in. First is about the immunizations that are required and what's recommended. So,
last I had checked, now things could be updated. There was a yellow fever vaccination that was required. I had it, so I didn't need to get an update. I did go to my doctor, tell them where I was going, and I did do a course of an antibiotic as a just in case of precaution. And that was it. And as a US citizen, it was a small fee to enter the country, about $100 that had to be paid on cash at entry, which I was well prepared for. And that was it.
yeah, and whether or not if somebody asks you about a visa, that'll depend on if you're going directly to any place in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, if you're coming straight from the US, most likely you won't. But if you're stopping in other countries first, that's not necessarily the case. So that would be something that would be determined at the time of making the booking.
And my goodness, these rules change so quickly.
They do, especially
overnight.
Now. Especially now. Another question that came in is climate change adversely affecting the environment in Tanzania in general?
Well, that's an interesting question. There's been a lot of stuff out over the last couple of months about that very topic in a lot of places like this throughout the world, the Galapagos included, where there's been no interaction with man, and they are seeing a significant flourishing in Iceland and other places as well. So it's, you know, the answer to that is likely a yes. I'm an oceanographer's wife. I am a firm believer in global warming and the temperatures of the oceans rising and it causing us grief. There are others who disagree, but there have been a variety of issues. Recently, there were some elephants, a large herd of elephants that were found dead. Initially, the thought process had been that they'd been poisoned, and then it was discovered that the algae had turned and poisoned itself. They had drank the water, and that's what they died from. Mother Nature's amazing.
That she is. That she is. Another question came in about the typical temperature in the morning and the evening.
A lot depended on the altitude. Arusha wasn't too bad because it was at about 3,000 feet of altitude. And Ngorongoro crater was cold, man. It was cold. We had a hot water bottle in the bed at nighttime. But, you know, nothing by 9, 10 o'clock. It had burned off and you were, you know, dressed in layers. That was the chilliest place. But it's that true safari gear where you dress in layers. And at chillier at night, we would have a fire in the evening time. Nothing a little whiskey couldn't take the edge off of, I promise.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and it depends too. The time of year is going to make a difference too. You know,
but it is very altitude driven.
Yeah.
Just like Peru and Machu Picchu, very altitude driven. Well, especially once you get up to that 4,000 to 7,000 feet level.
So, anybody else have any questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat. What would you say your favorite memory of that trip was? Or is there one? Can you pick one?
Funny, if I had to pick one, it was almost one of the first pictures I showed you with the really green background of the Cape buffalo with the bird. That was really the first official animal we saw when you go through the park entrance. And it was just one of those moments. And then all of those elephant pictures after that, one after the other. I'm not going to lie to you. I was in tears. I mean, I was hysterically sobbing to be that close to something so grand was intimidating. I knew my place, but I had tears rolling down my cheeks with the grandness of it all. I will never forget it as long as I live.
And then did seeing any of the animals in particular really surprise you?
Not really, because I'd done my homework in advance. So I knew what I was hoping to see. And so I really got to see everything. And then we saw black rhino in the distance, and that was kind of cool. But I was just so over the moon with every single thing. It's like it just kept getting better every day. And you're like, how can that happen? And that's why I liked my 10 days was perfect for me, because it left me wanting just a little bit more. I wasn't tired of it. It wasn't like, yeah, another zebra. I was snapping as many pictures on day 9 as I was on day 2, but that's up to you. Me, I'm pretty easily amused.
Another question that came in is, did you see any of the animals fighting?
Well, I saw one getting eaten. So the leopard in the tree. So while we missed the fight, we did see what happened to the spoils. And the little cheetah I showed you with the stripes, Mama brought lunch in for those little guys too. So we didn't see that kill, but we did see her bring it in for the little ones. And that was a very mixed moment.
I can
It's,
imagine.
yeah, a very mixed moment. Never felt afraid, just in
That's good.
awe.
Even the first night when you're being escorted back to your room with somebody who is armed?
Oh my God, he was tall, handsome. Are you kidding me? I was in heaven.
Just checking, just checking. All right, well, there aren't any other questions that are coming in. We'll take a second and wait and see if any others pop in. But I do thank everybody for being here tonight. And if there were any questions that you didn't think of right now and you think of later, please feel free to reach out. I am happy to try and answer them myself or reach out to Jennifer again to do so, because we really do enjoy having you guys here, because this also offers us that little bit of an escape with everything that's
Yes,
going on.
and thank you for joining. It really gave me a wonderful escape tonight. And yeah, thanks.
And again, for those of you who have been with us before, you know that you can find us in our Take a Virtual Vacation group on Facebook. For the rest of you who have not been able to join us there yet and are interested, I'm going to pop those links in the chat. So you're welcome to find us at any of those locations. I'll also include my email. You're welcome to reach out to me with any questions. Annie says, many thanks for the amazing photos. I am in awe. So I'm so glad you enjoyed it. If you want to take a copy of the chat, towards the bottom of the chat box to the right, you'll see a little box that has 3 dots in it. If you click on that, you should see that option that says Save Chat. It'll save that and it will put it into a Zoom folder on your computer. Thank you again for joining us this week going to Tanzania. We really hope that you're able to join us again next week when we go to Finland. We're going to go from way south with all these amazing animals to the way north, where we can talk about the Aurora Borealis, as well as Lapland, where Santa Claus lives. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And until then, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you here next Tuesday. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks again, Jen.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.